We often hear the phrase, money is the root of all evil, thrown around a lot. Especially me growing up, any single time somebody seemed to get a hold of money or somebody seemed to be living a better life than the people that are in my immediate surroundings, there was always a question of how on earth did they get hold of that? Why are they spending money on these frivolous things? And I've been doing a lot of work over the past few years to unpack my feelings around money, my money story, and as a result of getting through some of those mental blocks, I have started to claim an entitlement to wealth that I think everybody could do with a little bit more of. In this video, I'm going to prove to you that money is not the root of all evil. It just emphasizes the person that you already are. I've learned through spiritual work, from mentors, that money is an energy that we are all deserving to harness and are responsible to harness, to use it in better ways than the quite frankly villainous billionaires are currently using it in our world today. If you haven't met me before, my name is Philippa, and I have just been fascinated by money since a very young age. I lost my mum at 12 and my father at 13. My mum was an accountant who was supposedly responsible for lending money to people, and she was an accountant before she emigrated from the Philippines to marry my father. And since then, I've always had a desire to have my own money, to have my own control, and to have my own independence. And frankly, money was my only avenue to do that. So since then, growing up, I then got a corporate job at one of the most prestigious companies that is based in the UK. I then recently realised how unhappy it was making me, and also how much more wealth it was holding me back from, by sucking away all of my time and energy, from completely draining me of any appetite to be creative, and also constantly being at odds with the values of a company that didn't align with my own. So I'm making this short video series. I don't know how long it's going to be. I don't know what form this is going to take or whether or not it will evolve. What I want to do is just get my thoughts out before I start that journey. Well, technically I am on the journey. I am on the journey of making money from my art and becoming sovereign from my art. But to be able to kind of summarize my thoughts now, also help people that are in a very similar position to where I'm at currently. And hopefully it means that when I have made millions from my art, that I can come back and I can look on this and realize, damn, 27-year-old Pip, she was onto something. She was onto something, and you should all go back in time and listen to her. So before we get started, I owe a lot of my spiritual work around unpacking my relationship with money to Dr. Kate Thomas. She is a magical practitioner. I have become a recently new student to her spiritual life upgrade. I am taking very, very careful steps to make sure that what I'm saying in this video is not overstepping on her teachings. This is all stuff that I've been doing through journaling work. It's stuff that I've been thinking about before I started engaging with her work. But it is thanks to her that I've been able to kind of formulate and actually genuinely feel more entitled to going about pursuing wealth in a way that aligns with my values. So if you want to do this work on like an energetic level, I would thoroughly recommend Dr. Kate Thomas's courses. She's got a Spiritual Money Upgrade Part 1 and then a Part 2 to that, which is called Decolonial Money Magic. It is especially helpful if you are somebody that has been socialized as a woman or from a marginalized background, or if you've had ancestors that have had wealth stolen from them, whether it's through land, resources, and labor. We're often told that money is the root of all evil. And I think as a result of that, and as a result of our kind of aspirations for certain types of wealth and our view of what actual wealth looks like, we resent people that have money and resources. We just do. I was in that position for a long time. I grew up in a working class family, a working class disabled family, and I went on to get a corporate job where a lot of people around me just didn't seem to have any struggles that I had. Not to say that their lives weren't difficult, but some of the things that they would think about on like a day-to-day basis were beyond survival. And for me, I was just in that environment trying to survive and trying to figure out whether or not it was somewhere that I could thrive. So I spent quite some time thinking that if I had wealth, I would just give it all away. And to an extent, I think when I have wealth, when I do have wealth, I will be giving some of it away. But I also think that especially those of us who are exploited, who or have been exploited, who want to build more equitable infrastructure, who want to create the resources that we need to survive and divert the resources from more exploitative structures, we need those resources. We need that money to be able to do something with. And I think as well as that, there's also I think, like, with that resentment, there also comes a certain level of jealousy where if you are simply like, okay, and you have the money that you need to survive and you're also able to afford some nice things, that's what people's view of being rich is. When I don't think people actually are able to fathom like the extreme amounts of wealth that is basically on a yearly basis being robbed from us and as basically being transferred from us and taken from us and then just become profit to a shareholder. And if you want to look to a particular place where all of our wages are being are basically just being taken and where they're ending up, just look at the profits of BP, Shell, and a lot of oil and gas companies that are taking our bills, and look at the state of the housing market. Look at the fact that there's 1.2 million empty homes in the UK, and the Labour government is hell-bent on building another 1.5 million homes to somehow close the gap of the housing crisis. It doesn't make any sense. It does not make sense. When we think about where that obscene wealth is, where it truly is, it is in the hands of a very, very few select people that are selfish, that are hoarding it. The enemy is not somebody who, the enemies aren't even, I wouldn't even say like millionaires that pay their taxes, that don't own significant amounts of property just for the sake of letting it out. Like, I don't think people realise like the gap between like having a roof over your head and having a comfortable pension and hoarding obscene amounts of wealth. Like, the gap between those two is much, much larger than the gap between somebody who owns their home and has a comfortable pension versus somebody in financial scarcity. Like, you are only 6 months of a lost paycheck away from like being put in a precarious position most of the time, and that is a significant majority of us. So I think we could all do with being a little bit more entitled about having that wealth back. The exercise that I want to do with you guys, which we're going to do now, is to ask yourself, if you were handed £1 million cash right now and it just dropped into your lap, what you would do with it. Feel free to pause the video, but I'm going to hop straight in and I'm going to tell you what I would do with that £1 million if I had it. So first, I would put aside a house deposit for my brother. Because we're both orphans, I'm also about to marry into a family with generational wealth. As far as I'm concerned, I'm going to have a roof over my head and I'm going to be fine. The second thing I would do is I would actually just like hold it for a bit. I would just look at it and see and look and actually just experience what it feels like to sit on that money. And I wouldn't spend it for a little while. I would just live my daily life as if I didn't have it, so I could understand that kind of money, like, it's not going to like completely solve all of my problems. It's not going to fix everything. It's not going to make everything much more comfortable. I'm sure a lot of people are aware that like if you want to live a relatively comfortable life with a decent sized house that you are then able to pass on to your grandchildren, you want to go on maybe like a holiday once a year and you want to travel and you want to do certain things, like that's expensive, and especially afterlife care on top of that if you're going to be retired. Like, on reflection, like £1 million isn't really going to get you very far. Once I've then done that and I've then unpacked like what it is that I actually want to do with that money, then I would put some of it towards starting some sort of business, starting some sort of enterprise. I would probably use some of it to actually go towards distributing my art in whatever form that is. And it would be a really healthy cushion that I could then use to be able to take things on tour or be able to do just like the things that I need to do without worrying about money. So after you've done this exercise, I want you to kind of have a look at the things that you've written down. And I think especially if at least in the top 3 items of the things that you'd want to do with that money, if you're not like me and you're not like very risk averse with money and you've gone, okay, I've got this £1 million, I'm going to do all of these things, and then it's going to be gone, fine, doesn't matter. This is a hypothetical, right? But if one of the first things is that like you would use some of that money to get a family member or a loved one out of a difficult financial situation, you would not be a bad person if you had that £1 million in your lap. Money does not make you evil. It does not make you a worse person. It does not make you a snob. If your first thought when you have £1 million in your lap is to take care of a loved one, that says miles more about your character than having that money in your lap in the first place. You're supporting somebody else on their journey to do whatever it is that they want to do, and supporting them to be okay and to be safe and to have stability. So if you're in a position where you're thinking, oh, I can't have that kind of money, or if I have that kind of money, it makes me a bad person, then you're not. I hope that exercise proves to you that you're not. I am going to leave things here for this first episode. I don't know when I'll be recording the next one, to be honest, but I hope that you found it useful. I will be back when I feel inspired, when I feel empowered, and I hope that going back and watching this video will help you get there as well.